time to change my strings. So I thought what I might do is show you the process, like the little ritual I do, and also let's do a comparison. Is there any benefit in the difference between new strings and old strings? So I'll change my strings typically once a month. If I'm gigging, I'll change them every gig. So even if I had 2 shows a day, that would be 2 sets of strings. My argument would be that they feel consistent, but more importantly, the tone is the same. Very often I'll have it where I have what I call a tone crisis on my board, where everything kind of sounds okay, and then one day the gain isn't the same, or the EQ seems to have changed. And I always forget this, but it's always the strings. So if I change my strings out, I know instantly the shine comes back, not only in the look, but just the sound. Have a few thoughts on that, which I'll chat to you about as we change the strings. I also want to do like an A-B comparison. So I'm going to play a few things with the new strings and also the old strings. So let's play something on the old strings, and then I can give you a before and after, and then in the meantime we can do the ritual of changing the strings together, and you can see the benefits. There are many benefits. So I'm just for reference of tone, it's the only thing I've got on there is actually it's my own pedal, but it's essentially a light speed, so just a slight piece of drive. So if I clean it, it's clean. So what's really I'm going to notice the difference possibly more than the listener to you guys, where for me I'm expecting the response with the new strings to be more. In other words, when I play lighter compared to when I dig in, so at the moment it's biting back, but that's going to be more brittle and a little bit more dynamic with the new strings. So I'll play a few bits with the old strings, then we'll do a comparison. So I'll move from bridge to neck, but I won't change the guitar tone. I'm going through the Iridium, which is essentially set to a Vox sound, clean sound, with the light speed in the front, and that's essentially it. A bit of delay, but nothing other than that. Tonally, that's all there is. Actually, I can feel that they're responsive, but the dynamic, like the kickback that I would expect, isn't there. Right. So that said, let's change out the strings. So I've got lock-in tuners, meaning that all I have to do is get the string kind of straight up through the hole, so I have the hole up to down, and then it's simply a case of unlocking them at the back. So if I had at the minute, this is my main guitar, so if I had the old school pegs, then I could sort of show you how I change my strings, but to be fair, this is it's a bit of a cheat. The reason I'm changing them out is when I got this guitar, dare I say, Gibson gave me this for my birthday when I was 40. So when I got this guitar, it had those robot tuners on it. They were great, but now and again they were a little bit inconsistent at keeping the tune. So I swapped them out for Grovers, and over the years the Grovers have died. So these are locking Grovers. So what that means is you have a little wheel here, and as I untighten the wheel, a pin moves up or down through the hole and nips onto the string. So you don't have to do any clever knots or anything. You just loosen the button and the strings fall away. So what I would do here, so there's not a billion bits of string flying everywhere, the easiest way is to grab them all and just make a giant coil with them like that. But the one thing I haven't bought are my clippers. So I'll get my clippers, I will crop this moment, and I will be back with my cropping clippers. So this is one of those string winders that also has in the hinge the clippers. So there's a fine line here between staying neat and avoiding pricking your fingers. So I'll coil that into a little knot as well. And then these are not only, it's just a little bit safer for fingers and eyeballs, but also when you chuck them in the bin, they're a little bit easier. Right, so I get told off for doing this too much, but what I'll do is I'll put some oil on the neck, just a little dot down each fret, in fact just down a few frets, and then I'll use a cloth that I only ever use for the oil. Oh, the oil, by the way, is Music Nomad F1 oil. I've had that same pot for, oh god, I don't know, 10 years. It nearly needs renewing, but they last forever. So if you've got a maple neck, you don't need to do this as much. In fact, my guy that does my guitars does tell me off for doing this too much, even on the rosewood. But I'm not sure how else to get all the DNA off it. But I'll change my strings, like I said, we used to be every week. So before D'Addario brought out the XT strings, I didn't like the coated strings because I found that they either snapped, I'm not going to name names, but they either snapped really easily, and they were always sending me new sets, but they just seemed to snap easily, or they just were a bit darker, like the tone of them, which I suppose if you want it on the warmer side, then it's great, but I found that the coated strings were just a little bit too dark, bassy sounding. So I never really used them, which meant I was using basics like the standard D'Addarios or Ernie Balls, and I was changing my strings every week because if you play a lot, you know, they do wear out and they corrode and ugh. So the XTs, I found that although they're coated, they're not massively coated, so they actually keep a really nice tone and a nice feel. So the guitar polish, again, Music Nomad, that's called the Guitar One. Smells amazing and easy to use. So every now and again there's another polish Music Nomad do, and I'll probably go at that, you know, if there's some real stubborn bits on the guitar. But typically just a quick once over with that stuff's really cool. If you're wondering why my tailpiece and the bridge aren't flying around, it's because this guitar was blessed with these little locking grub screws in it, so they don't actually fall out everywhere, which is amazing. So that's my guitar care done for the month. Until my next gig. I think there's a gig in a week or two, so this will all be done again. So while I've done all that, I've let the neck soak in any oil that it needs, and then you just rub off what it doesn't need. String, a lot of people underestimate the power of these strings in terms of tone and feel. The three pillars of tone that I have would be your strings, the pick that you use, I'll do another video on the pick, but the pick you use makes a massive difference to the sound. And the cable, I'll do another one on the cable as well, but the cable you use does make a huge difference. And I've had, cynical responses to that, but I'll show you on another vid. So the 3 pillars of tone, as it were, that I would suggest you investigate are the strings you use, and I've tried all sorts, cobalt strings, nickel, chrome, you name it. And the best ones that I've felt were consistently the best, and for the feel and the tone, were the Didarios, and now the Didario XT. Love them. And if you're worried about the cost, they are more, but I have to say they far outweigh the lifetime proportionally to the difference in price. So I'm not sure how much strings are now, but let's say a new set of strings is like a tenner or just under a tenner, and you get the fancy pants ones, let's say they're 15, that they'll more than last 2 or 3 times what the others do. By last, my qualifier for that would be, they start to corrode or oxidize or just not feel very good. So I don't know if you know this, you may know this, but if you're doing 3 on a side, you want to start with I've done this before, I promise. You want to start with the fat string, because when you, I literally pull that tight and then tighten that clamp up at the back, and then I'll coil that into a circle, which when I clip it off at the end, then you've got this little string coin, as it were, that you can just throw away. So you want to do the strings in this order so that the previous string is not in the way of you doing the next one. Whereas if you do the skinnier ones first, it's just a pain because they're in the way of the other one. If you haven't got locking tuners, you don't need them, but they are an absolute game changer. I've got them on a couple of guitars. My favourite tuners actually are the those vintage ones where you kind of pop them in the top and then wind them around. They do take a little bit longer. Not as long as a Floyd Rose. If you have thought about getting a Floyd Rose, watch some videos of people changing those, because those are not for the faint-hearted. They're okay. They're all I used to use. In the 80s it was the law, you had to use Floyd Roses. So then on this side, just because it's 3 on a side, I'm coming in from the skinny end first. Again, so those strings aren't in the way of the next string. And if it wasn't locking tuners, it's a bit more tricky, because you have to do a twist, the right way and everything. But with these, it's just great. Twist and go. I might even, if this is taking too long, might even speed the video up. Never done such things before, but can't be that hard, can it? Get it? When it comes to picks, if you haven't experimented with different picks, I would suggest the first thing to do is experiment with thickness, because especially if you're starting out, the thickness of the pick is how it feels. Don't go thin. I think there should be a law to ban thin picks. Medium minimum, and as heavy as you can tolerate, only because you get better tone with a thicker pick. I know if you're acoustic you're not going to agree with me, but thicker pick, better tone, and also as you become more comfortable with your playing, a better response as well. So as you relax more, the pick can then give you the nuance back that you're feeling. Whereas if it's a thin pick or a thinner pick, it just doesn't respond in the same way. Okay, we're on. We'll soon be in. And here's the other thing: a lot of people get nervous about putting new strings on before a gig, because you have to wear the strings in, because new strings are quite stretchy, right? So let me show you. So I'm tuning these on a first run through, just to a standard tuning. Not that perfectly, but close enough. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a stretch and do it again. And in my experience, it never takes more than 3 stretches and you're ready for a gig. I would suggest that the reason you might not want to put strings on and then gig is because you've tuned like this and then you start playing, well, they're going to be out of tune, like already they're out. So around the 12th fret, just give it a pull. You're not trying to like break it, pull it, but just sort of hand tight, just so there's a bit of resistance and bounce. I do it around the 12th fret because it's sort of an even tug across the string then. And then bring it back up again. You'll probably find it's a half a tone, maybe a tone flat. These are all like half a tone. Now what I do is I'll bend around 5, 12 and halfway again on each string as if I'm sort of playing. And then I'll tune again, and you'll probably find it's the same difference. But actually it's getting closer. And then again, and this is the last one. Once you've done this, they probably won't move at all. Or if they do, it's barely anything. Yeah, they haven't moved. Oh, that one has. Yeah, they're the same. So now the tone should feel all lovely. The strings feel amazing already. And they look better too. Yeah, you can already hear they're slightly louder, but there's a bit more top end to it. And the gain is more, like it's giving me more distortion, more drive back. Makes you want to play it more too. Also, the strings are they're more bouncy. I don't know what the proper word is. Slinky, bendy. They're I guess over time they just get a bit more brittle or firmer. I don't know. Yeah, that's so good. All the little niggles that you would have by thinking your drive's dropping out or your tone's gone. It's new strings. Always new strings. So I'll cut back to my earlier playing so you can compare the A-B difference. And actually it'd be interesting as well for me to have a listen to see if this is a feel thing or if it is an actual sonic thing, but the response is completely different to play. It's so different. When I was a kid having lessons, my teacher used to tell me off, or not tell me off, but he would say, always practice with the amp, because the amp's part of the instrument. And I was like, yeah, whatever, this is clearly the instrument. So I'd practice in my room and I wouldn't have it plugged in at all. But 40 years later, I get what he means. Because the instrument, the sound is how it responds back, right? Without the amp and all the pedals and the drive, it's not the same instrument. Like to be able to play lightly and then dig and get a bit more drive. now what I do is I always do a double little paranoia check that they're all tight at the back, but then you just cut them off and you're left with these little circle things, which is brilliant, because to throw them away, or to ideally just put them back in the cardboard box that the strings came in, it's so much easier than if you don't coil them, because then you're looking for like little flat bits of string across the carpet. So job done. And then the other bits of string, those are the old ones, and those are the cut ball ends. You can safely put that in the bin or recycle it. And there you go. That is the wonder of new strings and how quick we can change strings. Lock-in tuners. If you want, let me know your thoughts. Actually, I'd be curious to know if you can hear the difference, or if you do it on your own guitar, if you appreciate the difference. And then also if you would like me to show you how I do the tuning heads if it's not lock-in tuners. But to be fair, there's probably a squillion videos that will show you that. I essentially wanted to show you the benefits of it, that it's the feel and the sound, the response is so much better with new strings. Already, you just got to breathe on them and they're alive. I won't put more drive on. I'll tell you why. It often winds me up when I watch people on the tube and they're demoing the sound of a guitar and they just lace it with drive. You can't really hear the guitar anymore. They can probably feel how good it is, but you can't hear it. So minimum drive for me, just to know that it's sounding okay. We're starting to go out of tune a little bit. So this would maybe suggest, song 1 or 2 into the set. I think it was the G, yeah, there. You would maybe tune it the first couple of songs in, but then that's it. So you don't need to change your strings a week before a gig or anything crazy like that. I'll literally sit on the side of the stage sometimes and change my strings ready to play in 10 to 20 minutes. Usually if I'm unorganised and I'm last minute on everything. And on a Les Paul, by the way, I'll show you something. It was a Joe Bonamassa tip. He said if it's at 10, there's this like little transient snap you get. Whereas if you just roll the volume down, just a nudge, just takes the edge off the top of it. It's so cool. I'll put it back.